The morning sun had barely kissed the horizon when Christian Blake, a widowed single father of two, opened the old diner he had inherited from his late father. Life hadn't been kind, but Christian was the kind of man who didn't complain. He showed up. Every day. For his kids, for his town, for the memory of the woman he loved. The bell over the door jingled gently as he set the chairs down and started the coffee maker, the rich aroma mingling with the hum of the waking world outside. Then it happened. He was wiping down the counter when the front door creaked open and 6 figures stepped in. Dirty. Exhausted. Torn uniforms clinging to bodies that looked barely able to stand. Their boots were scuffed, faces smeared with dried mud, and one man had his arm in a makeshift sling. Yet they stood tall. "Sir, may we?" the tallest of them asked, his voice gravelly but respectful. Christian turned, caught off guard by the sudden intrusion. His eyes landed on their uniforms, U.S. Army. But these were not regular soldiers. There was something haunting in their eyes. Something heavy. For a moment, time froze. He remembered that look. He had worn it once himself, 10 years ago, when he came home from Afghanistan. That same bone-deep exhaustion. The confusion. The invisible weight that civilians couldn't see. "Come in," Christian said softly. "Sit. Please." The 6 soldiers didn't speak much as they found a corner booth. Their eyes darted around, hyper-aware of every movement and sound. They sat shoulder to shoulder, as if being apart was unbearable. Christian quickly poured hot coffee into mugs and brought out a few plates of eggs and toast, knowing well what an empty stomach could do to a mind on edge. As he served them, his 10-year-old daughter, Lucy, peeked out from the kitchen, her little hand gripping a pancake spatula. "Dad, who are they?" Christian knelt beside her. "They're soldiers, sweetheart." "Like I was. But something tells me they've had a much harder time." Lucy nodded with the quiet understanding of a child who had grown up seeing her father wake up in cold sweats. One of the soldiers, a woman with deep scars tracing down her neck, pushed her plate away after a single bite. "Can't eat," she whispered. Christian sat down across from her. "It's okay. You're safe here." That word, safe, seemed to unravel something in them. The tall man introduced himself first. "Staff Sergeant Ethan Rhodes. These are Corporal Davis, Private First Class Amanda Lee, Specialist Turner, Sergeant Ramos, and Lieutenant Rachel Vaughn." He hesitated, his voice cracking. "We just got back, but there was no one waiting. They weren't part of a formal unit anymore." Christian pieced it together slowly through their scattered words. Their deployment had been long. Too long. A mission that had gone sideways in the mountains of Syria. Cut off. Supplies low. They fought to survive for months until they were pulled out during a classified extraction. When they landed back on American soil 2 days ago, there were no press conferences. No flags. No families. No answers. Just discharge papers and a cold bus ride to nowhere. They had walked the last 6 miles to town after the bus left them near the highway. No money. No one to call. Christian looked around his diner. It wasn't much. But it was something. "You're not going anywhere tonight," he said. "This diner's got a storeroom, some cots, and I make a mean chili." At first, they resisted. But slowly, like stone worn down by water, they accepted. That night, as the diner closed, Christian brought out sleeping bags. Lucy offered her teddy bear to Amanda. Christian's teenage son, Noah, brought in an old PlayStation and challenged Sergeant Ramos to a game. And for a moment, laughter returned. But the days that followed weren't easy. Turner had nightmares and would scream in his sleep. Amanda flinched every time someone walked behind her. Rachel barely spoke at all. Christian knew the signs. He had battled PTSD himself. He took the soldiers under his wing, driving them to the VA center 2 towns over, sitting with them during the long intake process. He called a few old military buddies to pull strings, getting the 6 into a temporary housing program. They needed more than food, they needed purpose. So he offered them work. The diner had been struggling. But suddenly, Christian had a team. Ethan helped fix the wiring in the kitchen. Ramos ran the grill with military precision. Amanda and Rachel took to waiting tables, and despite their quiet nature, customers responded warmly. Turner handled deliveries. And Davis? He installed a new security system, free of charge. Word spread quickly through the town. Christian's diner was being run by heroes. Customers poured in. Reporters started asking questions. And finally, the Pentagon couldn't stay silent. One afternoon, a black SUV pulled up outside the diner. A woman in dress blues stepped out, General Elizabeth Monroe. She entered, surveyed the room, and spotted the 6 soldiers working side by side with Christian and his kids. "We've been looking for you," she said. "You were never supposed to be abandoned. The paperwork, it was a disaster. But you are not forgotten." She turned to Christian. "Mr. Blake. Thank you." Christian simply nodded. They needed someone. Just like I once did. A week later, the Army formally recognized all 6 soldiers with commendations for bravery, survival, and sacrifice. More importantly, they received proper treatment, housing, and support. But each of them chose to stay close to Christian and his family. They'd found more than shelter in that little diner. They'd found home. Sometimes, the most heroic thing isn't found on the battlefield, but in the quiet decision to open your door, offer a plate of food, and say, "You're not alone." Christian, a single dad with nothing to spare but kindness, became the lifeline for 6 forgotten soldiers. And in saving them, he helped heal a piece of himself too. Because real heroes recognize each other not by the medals they wear, but by the brokenness they carry, and the love they choose to give anyway.